All we're really doing is putting the bill that we spent 5 or 8 hours on before onto a House file to get a conference committee appointed. So I just encourage members, we're just going to stay here until we get the stuff done. So I just, again, these amendments are in order, but brevity would be appreciated.
Now, there's about, appears to be about 10 or 11 at the desk, Senator Poggemiller and members. But that, Senator Hand.
Thank you,
Senator. Before that, Senator Senjum, did you have
Mr.
a response?
President, and I know Senator Poggemiller realizes this, but in many cases, this is the first time we've been able to air some of these ideas, and not being able to get committee hearings on many of these ideas. This is our chance before the rest of the body, and in fact the television audience, to tell Minnesota what we think about some of what we've got going on here. So we'll try to be brief, but I think we want to make our point.
It only makes sense for us to say, why don't we do what we can do in the legislature to provide some direct relief to families, consumers, and businesses? And one thing we can do is we can lower our sales tax, if you will, on gasoline, which is a commodity that everybody uses. So what my amendment does is simply set aside the collection of the taxes, the fuel taxes, for the 4-month period beginning July 1st through end of October of this year. This would include the 22-cent gas tax and the half-cent fuel surcharge. And this would provide relief, a great deal of relief, to Minnesota drivers, Minnesota families and businesses. About $235 million of saving would occur in that 4-month period from not having to pay the gas tax.
All senators having voted desire to vote. Secretary will close the roll. There being 18 ayes, 42 nays, the amendment is not adopted.
To subtract their military pay from Minnesota state income tax. Mr. President, it's about time that Minnesota come around to the idea that we should honor these veterans, honor the people that serve us every single day and put their lives at risk to do that. There are 34 other states in the country that subtract military pay from state income tax. And we are basically telling these folks that they should leave our state and go elsewhere because they'll get better treatment in other states. And that is a sorry state of affairs. Now, I know that we've talked about this amendment before, but it seemed like we got lost in some politics and some process issues, and I thought Minnesotans should have a fair and straight-up vote on this issue so they could see where their senators stand on this issue. And I know many people across the state were disappointed in the results of this amendment before. So I thought it was appropriate to offer it again and ask senators, please, give some consideration to the people that have served our country
Briefly,
so
Mr.
well.
President, this is a well-deserved, hard-earned benefit that these men and women work for, and we should not be taxing it. So please, I would just urge a green vote on this amendment.
We'll close the roll. Being 27 ayes and 32 nays, the amendment does not prevail.
There's been plenty of discussion in the tax committee that I'm a member on of a growing exodus of senior citizens moving away from the state of Minnesota. Quite often they're moving to states that do not have an income tax that's imposed in other states, and they're moving to those states to gain that benefit.
Well, I think this is a proposal we should talk about it. There's time to do more groundwork. But Senator Limmer is right. We need to express some priorities. And I would remind this body that certainly the minority was not consulted when budget targets were set or when they developed the budget. This is the time to consult with us, and we would ask that you put this priority into this bill and send it to conference committee so we can keep the options open. It's important enough to do that. We can sort through the fiscal notes. We can come up with that information, and if it's too expensive, okay. But I think we can keep it moving. It should be something that should be considered in our final budget because Minnesotans are hurting, and the elderly in particular are hurting.
And it's an easy pattern to see. We establish our spending targets first, then we go out and make our tax policy fit our spending desires. Maybe once in 20 years we might be able to do something different. Recognize the priority of our citizens, recognize the need of our limited income seniors, set the policy, and then set our spending according to what we're going to bring in. I think that's the proper way we should be doing tax and spend policies in the state of Minnesota, but I haven't seen that in the years I've been here.
The Secretary will close the roll. An amendment is not adopted.